Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike. This is the Empower Hour. I'm rolling with the Princess of Purpose, Tiffany Greene. Welcome to the program, ma'am.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning to you.
This is the big time of the month. This is the first, and this is the time to put your baby into motion, which is the squad. This is your Empower Hour, your panel of experts. We got some folks out there seen recently. You've seen some folks. We got some new folks joining in. Really quickly, Tiffany Greene, tell folks who you are and what you do.
So I won't get into my existential crisis. That's just a joke. I'm not having one. So I'm Tiffany Greene, and I am the founder of MPWRPeople. And MPWRPeople is an organization that provides education, connection, and support to mission and purpose-driven leaders to drive positive impact and empower people. Oh, and I think you want me to say, right, Mike, that you can find us on MPWRPeople.org. That's MPWRPeople.org. Hashtag. That's right. LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube.
There you go. Canada's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Tiffany Greene here with us, bringing positivity and all that kumbaya stuff that I drank all the Kool-Aid with. That's
in this case, it'd be maple syrup, Mike.
Okay. Tiffany Greene, ladies and gentlemen, will be here 2 shows nightly. All righty. So we're going to go down through our panel of folks here. We're going to do the introductions. Origamic Solutions, Tim Pizzani. Yep. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, Mike. How about you?
Pretty good. Tell folks here what you do.
Yep. So Tim Pizzani with Origamic Solutions. We are an operations management, advising, and consulting firm. Our purpose is to partner with the local community to help them build a strong foundation, level up their business with love, and help them operate towards navigation or operational excellence.
There you go, leveling up with love. I'd be remiss if I didn't roll right to your partner, your running partner right there, Stacie Briley Goodman, also of Origamic Solutions.
Yes, I'm the founder of Origamic Solutions, and everything that Tim said is true. We specialize in operations management, process improvements, and preparing you for the future, helping you get ready to grow into the next level of business maturity and prepare to scale.
Really quickly, John Rabil, counselor, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Super duper.
Good. So I'm John Rabil. I own ELA. It's a law firm. We work with small businesses, entrepreneurs, typically as outside general counsel. So we're strategic advisors to help them recognize and manage risks that they're worried about and may not be aware of, and then help them sort of navigate through issues with contracts, employees, workers, regulations, and all of those fun things that go along with business.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to roll over to Brian Kinzie now. Here's our HR guru. But he's going to give us his elevator pitch, and then, but we're going to swing back to him because he got some explaining to do. Is that correct, Tiffany?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
I was going to say, what did the HR world do recently?
No, I think once we're done with it, with Brian's introduction, we got to go into the introduction of Ben.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
All righty. So really quickly, Michelle Rollins, our grant writer extraordinaire.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Michelle Rollins. I'm a fundraising professional and grant writer, and I'm always looking for the most funding opportunities for organizations and businesses to have the greatest impact.
And also the mom to soon to be one of the best dressed young men in the world over at West Point. Congratulations to Team Rollins on that one.
Thank you.
When you're double nominated, you know, most people don't get one nomination, but congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go.
Mike, it's ironic that you said her son is one of the best dressed, because she and I just talked about clothing a couple days ago and about sneakers and things like that, and he is one of the best dressed. So
thanks.
You know,
he'll appreciate.
I have an eye for fashion. That's, you know, my mentor Anna Wintour says that. All righty, really quickly, Brian Kinzie, let's kick it off with the intro.
All right, Brian.
Wait.
Whoop, stop. Okay.
Full of presses. We got my man Colin Davis is over there looking like Mike King. What happened? Last time I saw you, we were over at Rabi's place where you were offering your insight. Sorry, sir, we don't want to shortchange you. you're on the beach, I see. So, you've taken time out of your busy schedule to join us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mike, thanks. It's good to be here. It's good to be at the beach. It's good to stay positive.
Real quickly, tell folks who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm founders of First Principles Coaching. I help business owners to kill it in business and enjoy their lives. So we work on two things: business strategies and systems that will help the business to run without them, and then removing themselves from the business and working on the rest of their lives and mindset, especially to really, enjoy life. So here we are.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Empower Hour. Tiffany Greene is here with us, leading the way. She is the conductor of all of this. So Brian Kinzie, now is the time, sir. I always say cool people know cool people. And that's what happens right here. Brian Kinzie, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, my name is Brian Kinzie. My company is MPWRHour. We solve people problems. Basically, we act as a fractional HR department for small businesses and nonprofits. Be anything from helping companies put together a first handbook to helping them with the recruitment, retention of key players on their team, compliance issues, HR strategy, sticky employee situations, all those fun things the HR departments do at big companies. We do on a fractional basis for smaller organizations.
All righty, Ben, welcome to the program, sir. Tell folks who you are and what you do.
Hey everyone, you're looking great this morning. I like
Thank you, sir.
I like the beach scene there, Colin. I'm broadcasting out of my son's bedroom, but the beach looks nice too. My name's Ben DeBoard, and I believe everyone has the right to thrive at work and in life, and I facilitate that vision through leadership and team coaching, and I do that really through two ways. So I help people optimize their relationships with others, as well as optimize their relationship with themselves by, one, challenging their thinking, because when we learn to think about our thinking, I believe we become alive in a new way. And two, by facilitating action, because our results come when the rubber meets the road. So while education is invaluable, big fan of education, our most powerful learning and development comes through action.
Tiffany Greene is just shaking her head with that. So, Tiffany, what Ben just said, why is that so important? And you're going to sort of kick off the conversation of the reasons why we're here and the burning topics of the day.
So the reason why Ben just made my my skin get goose pimples all over is because that is my core belief that in order to make positive change, you need a three-prong approach, which is education, peer group coaching, and peer group advising. Because you got to, in order to make change, you got to be aware of the change. You can't fix something you don't know. Two, you got to work on yourself, because most times, whatever you're working on, you're your own biggest obstacle. And three, it doesn't mean anything unless, as he said, rubber meets the road and you actually do something, measure it, and get results. So it's the three-prong approach that I believe that works. So he made the little goose pimples pop up on my arms. Way to go, Ben. And Ben is the coach for our Purpose Ecosystem membership that we just started. So he's going to be the certified coach. He's going to be working with this ecosystem. We practice what we preach. So we have, guess what? I know you're going to be surprised when I say it. We're utilizing a three-prong approach with this ecosystem where we utilize education, peer group coaching, and peer group advising. And Ben DeBoard is the certified coach for the program. So I want to take this opportunity to introduce Ben to the squad, the superhero squad, and give everybody an opportunity to meet the coach. And if anybody had any quick questions they wanted to ask Ben, now would be the time, or forever hold your peace. Just kidding, you can ask him a question at any given time.
There you go. Alrighty, so Tiffany Greene, really quickly, Ben, how can people get information out about you, sir?
I am on LinkedIn. That's the best place. Also, benjamindeboard.com. I like to focus the social into one, because if I get spread too thin, like we all know, the focus and impact falls away. So find me on LinkedIn.
Very quickly, alrighty. So Ben, when we look at the landscape today, talk about why it's so important that what we're doing here together, that you're joining the superhero squad and adding to the talent that we have to answer questions that people may have. Like, what do you see today as the burning issue to help business move forward?
Well, I think one of the big things, like I just mentioned with that focus, is there's so many ways our attention and focus gets spread all over the place, right? So there's social media, marketing, doing different things, managing relationships. And I like to think about our focus, a lot like water, right? When it's raining, a little bit of water goes everywhere. It can nourish, but when you channel that focus, you channel water, a river can carve through a mountain. And so part of, I think, that burning issue is how do we focus on the 20% of things we're doing that get the most results?
So you think people are people as focused as they say they are? Everyone always says, I'm laser focused, but they're not. I don't think that people are as focused as they say they are. What's your idea with that?
I mean, I'll use an analogy, Mike, the dance floor and the balcony. I've gotten a lot of mileage out of this analogy. And the dance floor is where you're sending the emails, you're taking the actions, you're doing the day-to-day things. And the balcony is where you get that 20,000-foot view and see, is my team even rowing in the right direction? Am I focusing on the right things? What I'm seeing across the board is people are spread so thin that they're staying on the dance floor and just doing without that higher level view of, am I even going in the right direction? And so the challenge is, I think a lot of people recognize that and the value of getting up to the balcony. But what typically happens is they say, great, when I get a break from the dance floor, I'll go up there. And the thing is, you never get the break because there's always more to do. And so how do we prioritize spaces like this or other opportunities to get up to the balcony and take in the full view?
Ben, sir, I am glad you brought up dancing because we do have a professional dancer with us here. So Stacie, Briley, Goodman, Tim is smiling because we had this conversation yesterday about you're in the middle of it. So Ben, you said everyone's out on the dance floor. We don't know what we're doing because we don't have a high enough view. So what we can look at is, Tiffany, that Stacie and I talked about everyone maybe taking a step back, looking at what's happening. There's order and processes in place, and entrepreneurs are always putting out fires. Some of those are because we left gasoline next to a match, and we don't realize that we're self-inflicting on a lot of things. And as you said, Ben, we don't know the higher view of seeing what we do. Stacie, touch on that for a moment.
Sure. So when you're, as Ben was saying, when you're really busy and you're running around doing things, sometimes, to your point, you activate a process to solve an immediate problem. And that process can have long-term negative effects or not be scalable, and create risk. And so the matches and the gasoline kind of being, side by side, that is the epitome of creating unnecessary risk by either not having checks and balances in place, and having that higher level view to see what the impacts are when you're solving problems versus creating solutions, longer term solutions, and systems
I
that
think
protect you.
I think this is a good point to bring up the agenda for today. We had a conversation piece because this is a great segue, which is, do processes manage people or do people manage processes? And yes, I say it that way.
So that depends on how you create it. There are two approaches, and I am the advocate for people manage processes. But if you select a computer system, so to say, out of the box computer system, it has definite, limited parameters of what it can do. And in that case, a lot of people modify their systems and their processes to work with that computer system. And that is, when I look at it, you have to have people. People are the humans that are going to make decisions as to which way they're going to go, and they're going to go to the path of least resistance. Processes create order and structure for those people to do it in a repeatable manner. Tools make it more efficient, maybe more effective, those types of things. But if you can't do it manually, it's going to be difficult to do it systematically and to select the right technology. The technology then dictates the people. If you go from the people side up, what you have to watch is the people will go to the path of least resistance, which means they will create workarounds when they feel pain. And when you have lots of various little workarounds, you have a disconnected, unit, and you have the loss of repeatability, the loss of measurability, and the loss of control, and the increase of risk of somebody because, well, I could just do it this way and it's a shortcut. That's the match that's beside the gasoline that's getting ready to create a fire that somebody's going to have to go put out. And people are unaware of those workarounds. So the more you can measure and watch your processes when they are people driven, the lower the risk. The advantage of having people driven is the human brain will naturally find solutions. And where we come, I come from my background in manufacturing. Originally, our focus was to stay as close to the floor for solutions. So we worked with the people that actually did the job. When you're dancing, I'm going to go back to the dancing, but when you're out dancing on the floor, if you know the person who's leading, if they're skilled, they know how to navigate crashes with other competitors, so to say. My old dance teacher, it was like riding a NASCAR race, weaving through people, because he was skilled enough to mitigate problems. And the people on the floor that are doing the work, if you trust them enough and you work with and empower them enough, they will give you the solutions that you need to navigate, as well as identify pain points that need to be adjusted for improvement.
I want to bring up this question because this is something I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs say when we start talking about processes and management. And yes, if you're in Canada, they will say processes. So what they want to know is, can I have a lateral organization then? Because if we really get our operations and our processes in line, everything can be lateral because the processes will still manage the people. We'll have less people problems. And I'd also, I know you got some thoughts on that, Stacie, but because I just brought up, we will have no people problems. I also want Brian to chime in on this one too.
I would agree with Brian chiming in on the lateral versus the vertical, organizational structure. My 2 cents on there would be looking at the roles and responsibilities. If you can have a minimalistic team, right? So a lateral team where you don't have a lot. The lateral is more around hierarchy of accountability and ownership versus, and breaking down between the higher level strategic and management layers versus the executionary tactical layers. When you have that lateral, you have to do all of it. And then that's where you get into problems of, as Ben said, I can't get up in the balcony high enough to look down to see what's going on because I'm on the dance floor in the tactical layer executing. And so, in my opinion, sometimes those lateral structures create that problem.
Really quickly, Brian,
Brian's
Kinzie,
talk.
before we get to you, are workarounds and one-offs twins? Are they twins? Because typically it would seem like, there's the process that everyone wants to do and what we're supposed to do. But there's that one-off where that's
They are siblings, but not twins. A one-off is a custom solution. I'm going to do it one time. A workaround is repeated.
How often are one-offs, do they really happen as a one-off? Maybe I'm coming from the sales side. One-offs seem to be like, when we did it one time, it's going to be the process.
That depends on on the solution. So if, or the service that you're offering, if you're offering customized solutions, say you're building a custom car, you have a base fundamental process, but you're doing a lot of one-offs and the accessories and the customization components that you wouldn't repeat on the next automobile, the next customer's
Gotcha.
automobile. When you're doing repeated, the same product and service, and you're repeatedly providing that, then your one-offs really, they may be what we call an exception process, and you hope that the exception does not become the rule.
Brian Kinzie, drop some knowledge on us in the HR world, sir.
Absolutely. First, I would say a process might guide a person, but it's never going to manage a person. So I'm a huge believer of it being people managing, and the process is there to guide, provide structure, direction, but it's people that are doing actual management. So if you're relying on your process to manage people, you're not managing. So, which is dangerous. That's where people get into trouble. When we were talking earlier about the lateral versus vertical, I agree completely with what Stacie was saying. It's really easy if you're too flat to have all your key people being stuck in tactical and not able to be strategic. And you also have a tendency to end up with absolutely nobody that can back up anybody, because they all have their own silo and they're all focused on their little piece of the puzzle. And so if one of those pieces disappears, there's no one that can jump in and help out, because everyone's just focused on their own little area. Now, in small organizations, a lot of times ends up being structured that way just simply out of necessity. But as organizations grow and you're building your processes, that's when you need to start becoming more vertically oriented as far as your management structures typically. There's lots of different ways to do it. But the one thing that I will say that I've seen probably cause more problems from a people and morale standpoint is when a business owner puts in a process, turns it over to their people to run, and then keeps jumping in and breaking the process themselves. So, that is absolutely just crushes the morale of employees. So if you have a process, if it's not a good process, then sure, fix it. But if you're having to jump in all the time and handhold things all the way through yourself as the owner, you need to work on your processes so you don't have to be in that spot. Or you need to have people that you can trust to be able to execute on the processes you have in place, so you don't have to worry about them. But
I'm going to interrupt a little bit because we have a question in the chat from Colin. Did you want to say your question, Colin, or would you like me to say it for you?
I can ask it.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, this is awesome hearing these perspectives. Each person from their own specialty. So I like to think about things in terms of both and, like never either or. And this is kind of coming from that angle. So Stacie and Brian, like people need to manage processes, right? And ultimately, people are the asset. On the other hand, from the other side, to what degree can processes manage or guide employees and people? And to what degree and I work especially with business owners, right? To what degree do we need to have processes that can manage people or guide people?
So the processes that are in place to establish repeatable, reliable, or dependable execution that meets your quality standards or your expectations as a business owner and as a customer are critical if the business owner is going to be able to step away. So the business owner should be playing more at the strategical level and sitting in the balcony, right, watching the dance competition or the execution of the processes rather than being hands-on involved. And it gives that, by creating those systems and those processes that are stable and reliable, it allows that to happen. It also allows, as Brian was saying, someone else to oversee while you're gone. A lot of times in lateral, thinner, smaller companies, you do need somebody, to watch over your area if you're going to be out. As far as I guess we keep saying processes managing people, I'm going to agree with Brian's articulation of it. Is a process is not going to manage a human. A human is going to inevitably, I don't care if it's in a computer system or not, they're going to find a way around. I've designed enough computer system programs that people are like, well, if I put a 0 in this field, I won't get the email that's annoying me telling me I didn't finish, populate that field properly. True example, recent example. Now I have to go back in and put new logic into the computer system to avoid this problem, right? So the human is always going to be better. So when we talk about like AI is going to come in and do stuff. Well, AI gives you a framework, but the human is always going to have the higher, knowledge and capacity to figure out how to maneuver. So I don't think you manage people, but the processes are managed and made sure that they are reliable, trustable, and stable, so that the humans can do what humans need to do.
I'm going to use an analogy based on what Stacie just said, because I want to hear your thoughts, because this is how I hate to say it, but dummy it down into an analogy. So when I made cupcakes for my son's birthday last week, did I make them or did the recipe?
You executed the directions for the recipe, and if you followed the recipe, which is the process, including its components, right? You had to put the right raw materials into the recipe, because if you changed it, then you created a different product. You did not create blueberry or chocolate cupcakes if you didn't put the chocolate in it, right? So that's where the human decisions come into play, and they can create good or bad things. But the recipe established the structure and gave you the ability to produce the same product. And you and I could both make cupcakes and make the same product if we followed the recipe the same way.
And if we managed ourselves well, because if I manage myself poorly, we will get bad cupcakes, no matter how good that recipe is.
Yeah, and if I could jump in, I noticed when Colin was speaking, he said manage or guide people. And I think we're
guiding.
Like manage is so much beyond a process. So a process is never going to drive psychological safety. A process is never going to appreciate someone or acknowledge and validate where they are. So yes, the recipe can obviously support the creation of lovely cupcakes. However, how, Tiffany, you are with your child during that process together is going to much more shape whether they ever want to do it again, how they felt afterwards. And that's really where the magic is.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. And that's why even with a lot of the work that we do process-wise, the communication and how you roll out a change, the whole change management component of people is as critical, if not more, than what you create. I can create a solution that I know works because I can make it repeatable, right? That tells me it works and it's stable. I get the same cupcakes every time. That's done at the factory. But when it comes out, how they communicate, how to make those cupcakes to the rest of the world to get the same result is critical.
So on the mic with Mike, it is the Empower Hour. Tiffany Greene is here with us. Really quickly, let's go down through and, well, before we get to that, so Michelle Rollins, she's our grant writer, and she posted something that says, some cases processes manage people. Maybe because we come from a military background, we can sort of think of it that way. And yes, in reality is you have to manage people. We just did the Comcast Rise program. And everyone said it was really easy. The process was really easy. It was foolproof almost. Michelle Rollins, how much did we hear people complaining about that? They were trying to find an easier way out.
Yes,
So,
it appeared there was questions after everything was said and done, and that just because it's advertised that it's easy, if you are a business owner, entrepreneur, nonprofit, military, not just civilian, and you have opportunities for funds, like this, like different grants, scholarships included, because that's free money. Same thing. It's not easy. And there's so many little details that matter in that process. And at that point, it kind of, the process kind of takes over the person, or just the process of everything, if that makes sense. I just always tell clients, and then in my military roles, to remember what we're doing, make sure that you do all the steps. And I noticed when we were at the Comcast event that some people were really having a hard time with making sure that all their paperwork or what businesses could be covered under, under the things, the eligibilities. So if that makes sense. But I did want to say that processes can manage people. I'm a veteran. I am a military spouse, 21 years. And I have had many military roles, and I've worked with amazing generals, colonels, amazing leadership folks, learned from even JAG, and processes do take over people in the military. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. I still hear it from my husband. I am still in some roles at Fort Gregg Adams, which is formerly Fort Lee. And you can't, it's just part of the system. It's part of the structure. It doesn't ever change. And that is how it is. And yes, leadership can come in and change it, but unfortunately it's not like the civilian world. And you have to obey and follow the protocols and the red tape. And if you don't, there are consequences.
So that, I'll ask you this though, is that a reflection of the culture of the military's environment, of the acceptance of consequences if you don't follow the processes, and the either the acceptance or the admiration, I guess is the word I'm going to use, for that, why those processes are so important. You hear in a lot of the military movies, when you don't follow orders, people die.
Oh,
that's
I wasn't thinking
it
about
gets
that
to
so
that
much,
kind of those extreme levels, even when you're in other, there's a chain of command. It's important in business, that culture, that I don't see necessarily that culture translate. And I have worked with many people that have come out of the military into especially manufacturing and logistical warehousing, where that is a big transition for them.
It is. I have some clients that are veteran nonprofit organizations, some that focus on workforce, transitional military, and it's a huge topic, only because there's not enough resources out there, bottom line. But as far as going back to the way the structure is, it's not like a do or die situation, but when you join the military, you know that you have to report to whoever's your commander, your colonel, and the general of your overall your unit. And you have an intermediate, kind of like the equivalent of like if you were talking about the levels with looking at the views. So you have your floor manager, right? You have your floor manager, you have like an intermediate manager, and then you have like a director that would be almost like maybe like a colonel level. And then the generals oversees like is the CEO, right? That would be the best way to describe it. And the commander overall is your intermediate person. And if you don't, you have your sergeant, and then you have your commander that oversees. And then if you don't follow what you're supposed to do, your MOS, your job, what your assignment is, your commander will be notified. And if your commander gets notified, then ultimately the person above him is going to get notified, and it's going to come back to him. So you almost have similarities, but when it comes down to structure, the process has always been there, even since I have a grandfather that's 96 years old. He's a veteran, served in the Korean War, still alive. And I love the fact that he supported our country, and the process hasn't stopped. Listening to his stories and then listening to some of my clients that support veterans that are at the VA and such, you hear the same things. And there is no, they revise, they'll send documents out to send to you that says revisions were made, and they'll tell you like little codes. And I'm sure Mike can understand that, but it's not, they don't make changes as often as the civilian world. 21 years later, we're still dealing with things that we see, my husband and I do, that you would have thought would have changed. And with my son going in, there's changes as far as West Point, but a lot of it's still the same structure, the same expectations, the values, service before self. You don't really, I don't want to say this in a cruel way, but you don't really matter. You are a number, you are in, and you are serving your country, and you better follow whatever your MOS is and work hard to promote yourself. You don't get promoted as fast as the civilian world, but it's the same thing. I mean, it's a process that does control people. My life with my husband does not really, I don't really control that. The process does. If the Army calls him, he has to leave. We don't have a choice. Life stops, he goes. Does that make sense as far as?
No, it does. It's a very mature process. It's very, so when you have businesses that have been around for 100 years, right?
Yes.
It's the same process. It's the same. It's extremely matured. It's extremely well adopted by the people that are involved in it. When you're in the secular world and of business, we are dealing with new businesses that haven't been around for so long, which means the processes are immature and they're not as stable. They're not as adopted. The cultures are new and they're evolving. And then you have new generational people coming in. When you're talking the military, you're talking, it is attracting a select type of human who wants to participate in that, or has deemed it I'm going to, if I have, because no other options, I don't know, but I'm willing, I know when I go in, I have to accept this as the standard. We have new people coming in through Generation Z and millennials that have a very different approach to business in some ways, depending on how they were raised, depending where they were raised, and a whole lot of different factors that come into play. And that challenges the businesses culture as well. You can set your culture to say, we are going to be, we have these high expectations. If you don't like them, think there's other opportunities for you that will be a better suit for you. Right. The question is, will the business owner hold to that structure, or will they bend to, be flexible and adjust with the new expectations and thoughts, of younger, less mature, less experienced individuals. I think that's where you see the generational challenges in corporate business and in small businesses, where I don't see that in the military.
They have had challenges in the last several years between COVID, the challenges of being in person, because everything was done remotely, and bringing everybody back into the units and coming in person, and then also hybrid, just like the civilian world, it was a challenge. And then we've had a generational gap. You've probably, if you watch the news and stuff, you've seen it, where we have issues with recruitment. So that's constantly, a thing about bringing in new generations to come in, and what will help them, what will gain their interest to come in, because the numbers have been so low. We have friends that are recruiters and such, and it's definitely been challenging. I do think the process is trying, but the military as a whole and all branches are pretty dead set on their structure. And
It's worked this long.
as many advisory boards, and I'm also I've served on a board for a really long time for the military, and I've been on other boards as well, and served in civilian army civilian capacities as well since I've been out. And it's just not something they always ask for your feedback, but it's something they try to look for across the board of surveys. I know Mike King can shake his head on this one. Surveys never stop. Surveys have existed a long time, and everything needs to have a survey. And that's how you get the popular opinion of everything and what worked, what didn't work. You sit down with leadership teams. This is what's on the survey. This is what we got. This is what we need to do. Because everything has a process in the military, and everything is lived by documents, spreadsheets, SOPs. It's that kind of life. So when I transitioned and became a civilian, it was not an easy one. I had challenges just as much, probably why I help so many nonprofits that are veteran and military affiliated, because I see the challenges that many are having, and I had similar ones. So I wish I could say that people manage processes, but you would think there would be an easier way, and hearing it from so many service members, and not just my husband, hearing it from so many, it's like, why did you go around that? Why did you go around the circle to get there? Why didn't you do this? Well, because we can't. We have to do it this way.
We've always done it that way. We've always done it that way. Very quickly, so this is the Empower Hour. Tim Pizzani, you talked to a lot of business leaders out there, and you talk about leveling up with love. Those conversations that we're just having are tough ones. Whether it's managing people, talk a little bit about that really quickly. When you go in and talk to the business owner, they think that this is the only way, we've been doing it like this or whatever. Touch on that for a moment.
Yeah, well, I think we do have to take a step back and look at the overall success that the process is bringing, right? And also understand the importance of tradition within certain industries, right? So if we're speaking in terms of the military, tradition and success, I mean, I think those are the pillars of what every organization would strive for. So if I'm coming into a smaller business that has that type of mindset that, hey, this is the way we've always done it, this is, the only thing we've done, but we're not getting those desired outcomes, well, then we need to have that tough conversation. But if an individual does have something that's working well, and a lot of companies fall into that, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it type of mentality, well, then we have to try and find either additional tools that we can add in order to make improvements, or again, it's going to be, hey, let's break it down a little bit more and see what changes can be made. But overall, that's a deep conversation, and on an individualized basis, just on what industry they're in, what maturity state they're in, and what that success looks like for them.
Okay, so Tiffany, you want to touch on our friend Carol Coffin who's out there?
Yeah, she has a very good question coming. She's watching us live on Facebook right now. I'm going to read what she wrote. Question for this incredible team. BDSA is still in the throes of executive director recruiting process. The standard process of using a recruiting firm's digital outreach isn't netting the results we need. As a board member, I've headed up to the balcony. There you go, Ben, it's sticking. Okay, how does the team feel about adding grassroots networking, boots on the ground, recruiting processes in the community to support the recruiting firm's efforts? Apparently not the usual process, but I see the need to kick it up a notch. Advice.
And Tiffany, very quickly, let folks know who the VDSA is.
It's the Virginia Down Syndrome Association.
There you go. So Ben, sir, it sounds like she teed it up for you. Floor is yours. You're the one who took us to the balcony.
Tiffany, can you rephrase that question or give it to me again?
Sounds like, so I'll rephrase it. So they've been using digital marketing to recruit a new executive director for their nonprofit. It's not garnering them the results that they want. So she's positing, like, let's try some new things, outside of the box approaches to try to recruit that executive director. And she said, but it's not the usual process that they use. So she's wondering how can they kick it up a notch? Any advice?
Yeah, the first thing I would do is just take a second and say, what if this is the best way to find a new executive director, right? And get your mind focused on all the good things that could come out of that. Because, if you come in with the mindset that, this is a non-traditional way to find someone, and you're already starting to, disempower the process because it's not traditional, you're going to get in your own way. And so secondly, I would invite you to think about what are the signals that would tell you that this is being effective or is effective. And what are the key behavior units you could take to actually manifest those signals, and start there and then assess along the way.
Brian's definitely going to have some value to add here as the HR expert.
Yeah, I've had multiple clients who've gone through the ED search before. First off, okay, it sounds like you're not satisfied with the results you're getting from your recruiter.
She just posted, been 3 months with the same firm with mediocre results.
Okay, time to have a fun conversation with this firm and find out, okay, it hasn't worked. In y'all's opinion, because this is your area of expertise, why have we not found the candidate? Because there could be a good reason for it. You could either the candidate doesn't exist because you're looking for a unicorn, or you're not paying them sufficiently, or there's just a really limited market and it's really tough to search for. Or the recruiting agency just might not be doing a very good job, but you need to hear what their reason is. So I would start by asking, okay, what's going on? Why haven't we found the person? I don't know if you have an exclusive retained search set up with this company, but if you don't, then it is probably time to start looking at some alternative methods. At social media networking, putting your posts out there all over the LinkedIns of the world is a great way to draw attention to the fact that you're looking for somebody that reaches more passive candidates. That's a great way of going. You can go with good old-fashioned Indeed job posting and see what comes up. If you have, I don't know if have an internal person in the organization that might be able to rise into that position. Sometimes you can look internally for people to move into ED roles, but I would assume you probably don't have that option since it's been 3 months in. So, but it's hard to find those. Networking is a great way, especially within the Richmond area, to find people within that world. You can post. I can't remember if it's still called Connect VA or if they changed their name, but it's a nonprofit. A lot of the nonprofits in this area use it for posting their openings. But I would think that at this stage, if you're not getting results through your recruiter, it's time to start doing some direct posting and social media work to try to get some candidates in the door. So
really quickly,
and look at try to really figure out why they might not be coming to the door, because this sounds like a nice gig, actually. It's get to work for a worthy cause, get to be an executive director. It sounds pretty appealing. So it makes me curious as to why they haven't been able to find any good candidates. That's a little odd, frankly. They all been able to turn up some talented people for the search for a position like that.
hey, so Brian Kinzie, how often are people looking for the unicorn?
Oh, I always say when you start your job search, you should look for the unicorn. Figure out who your ideal candidate is and throw it out to the world. And if you find it, great. But if you don't find your unicorn, then you got to start figuring out where I can possibly settle for a very large horse as opposed to unicorn. It's like, all right, so maybe I'm not going to get all the things I was hoping for. It's a lot of us have, we want to hire a CFO, but our budget is for a bookkeeper. And, you can't expect your bookkeeper to act as a CFO, but to figure out like, all right, I've got 15 things I want this person to be able to do. Okay, maybe 12 of those 15 will be sufficient for this job, and it can be really frustrating when you have a really strong candidate who you know can be really successful at the position that puts all but one check mark, and it's not that major check mark, and organizations sometimes are reluctant to go on ahead and pull the trigger and move forward. Well, if you've been 3 months in, maybe you're looking for more than, I don't know in this case, but maybe you're looking for more than is realistic. So
There you go.
I would
and
like
Colin
to,
will tell
just
you.
would like to add something, like if
Sure.
you're looking for somebody who's passionate about your organization, what better place to start looking are the people that are already affiliated with your organization. So if you're having an event, I don't know, something like a local Dancing with the Stars event, promoting the executive director position at those events is a perfect place to be recruiting from, because those people are already passionate about your organization.
And they know people who would potentially be interested in that type of role. A lot of times the board, networking through the board membership is a lot of times the way nonprofits find their next ED. So that everyone on the board should be out there talking to all their people in the world saying, hey, we're looking for an ED. Do you know anybody? And Richmond's a pretty small world. You know,
I gotta
you
say
know
this.
somebody, you know somebody that knows the person. So
I gotta add this, because I think for those who appreciate a good sense of humor and innuendo, let's stop saying ED for executive director, because ED can stand for something else, and some of the people don't want to be called that. Just putting it out. Not good branding. Not good branding.
Really quickly, so Tiffany Greene, I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about.
I'm not explaining it.
Brian Kinzie, do you think that we would get in trouble if she explained it?
yes.
We will listen to the HR
And the
man.
lawyer would recommend we not.
The lawyer's about to jump off the call. He does not want to be associated with this conversation. So, I don't.
John Rabil has not said a thing. Really quickly, but Colin had said Great Resources Who by Jeff Smart. Colin, can you jump on that really quickly for a second? Do we still have Colin with the
Sure, yeah. Well, I don't know, can you hear me?
Yes, I got you.
Okay. Who by Jeff Smart, I mean, I love making, like recommending books and stuff because a lot of leaders are learners, right? Who by Jeff Smart is a book that has a great process for finding top level positions. And part of their process is that whole recruitment phase. And I'll just leave it at that for now. Just there's some great ideas, but everything that's been said so far is also really solid. So, just wanted to throw out that resource. It's a book.
There you go. All right, thank you. This is the Empower Hour as we're wrapping up. Tiffany Greene.
Two things. Michelle just dropped a good idea too. Webinar recruiting events are good. I did want to throw out there that we got a question before today with a registrant. They wanted to know more about framing, negotiating cooperative deals with other companies and partners from a business, legal, and skill parentheses communication standpoint. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to give a chance for John maybe to address that in a minute or two, and we can talk more about it during our next Empower Hour next month.
Counselor?
It's a broad subject, right? It's
Some advice on negotiating and framing partnerships.
cooperative deals with companies and partners.
Yeah, you got to lay out the expectations up front and early, and then get it in writing. I mean, that's about all we can do in the time we have left. That's, I mean,
I keep my promises. I say if there's a question, I'm going to get it asked, even if we have to follow up next time.
There you go. So John was succinct in that one, saying get it up front and get it in writing, because it will come back to be questionable on the back end. As we wrap up really quickly, Tim Pisani, words of wisdom as you take us out.
Yeah, so big things for today. I think you want to take the time to plan your processes, and most importantly, take care of your people. That's how you're going to build a business in the long term. If you have the right framework, the right people, and you're treating them well, you can go a long way.
There you go, Ben. Tiffany Greene.
Yeah, it's something I have to say to that. It's all rooted in what? What is that all rooted in? People, processes, purpose? I think it is.
See, that's what happens when it's your show. You can just step in and just
Go figure.
go figure it out. All right, Ben, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah, people first, right? I think people manage processes, and people manage how people delegate processes, how people follow processes. So I'm always a people first, and recommend that.
The Michelle Rollins, our grant guru.
I think processes are just a part of the corporate world as well as the military world. And sometimes there's going to be situations where people are managing the process, and other times that processes manages the people. But what's important at the end of the day is the impact, the people, and looking out for your staff, looking out for your team, whether again it's military or civilian. It's very important to look out for your people.
John Rabil.
Yeah, everything they said about processes sounds fantastic to me.
In other words,
Ditto.
I was about to
In
say
other-
ditto. So
Inside joke.
Yes, inside joke. Stephanie, Stacie Briley Goodman.
I agree. People come first. Processes help to give people structure. People like structure. They like boundaries because it gives them understanding of what is expected of them, and it allows them to gauge if they are being successful or not and make decisions. So people come first, processes, and then technology.
Brian Kinzie.
be nice to your people.
That's it. Oh, really quickly, Tiffany, Greene, what's next up? What can people expect next time we get together?
Next time, I think we're going to continue on the conversation. You're welcome, John, on establishing cooperative deals with other corporations. And I think we should focus on maybe even partnerships and strategic partnerships for our next Empower event, which will be the first Wednesday of July at 9 o'clock. So don't miss that. And we have a couple of courses coming up, one tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and then another one coming up on the 20th at 1 o'clock. And actually, I think we have 2 coming up, right, Ben? 2 coming up on the 20th. We're kicking off our first educational course on the 20th as well, which is going to be, I know everyone's going to be surprised. It's a whole new topic. It's about purpose and purpose ecosystems.
Boy, that Tiffany Greene, she sure goes out on a limb, ladies and gentlemen. She is out there. All righty, really quickly. So we'd like to thank you guys for tuning in on the mic with Mike, Tiffany Greene, the Princess of Purpose, Tim Pisani, Ben, welcome to the crew. Michelle Rollins, welcome to the. Michelle Rollins has been around, so just, well, welcome to being here with us today. John Rabil, Stacie Briley Goodman, Brian Kinzie, and folks, you take care. This has been the Empower Hour, empowering people. That's what Tiffany Greene does. Take care now. Thanks, everybody.
Let's evolve together.
Yep.
Okay.